So last time on Electroheads, I naively and impulsively emailed the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, to try and coerce him into changing the laws surrounding electric scooters. But guess what? He didn't say anything. Now, my expectations of him responding were obviously pretty low. I just thought it seemed a pretty cool idea for a video, but that didn't stop a lot of you pointing out the obvious flaw in my plan, that it's not even up to the Mayor to change the laws surrounding public transport. That ultimately lies in the hands of Parliament. After the initial realisation that I'd totally f***ed up and the hurt and embarrassment that definitely didn't subsequently follow, the realisation actually further fueled my disdain for the current stance on electric scooters. More specifically, how much time has been wasted since the e-scooter trials began? Why is it still okay to ride a 15 miles an hour rental scooter, but not to ride your own? If it is up to Parliament to begin regulation, why is this still a point of discussion? Why am I even here? Doing this, I mean, not like existentially. Hello Electroheads, Will again, and today we're going to go on a bit of a trip down memory lane to when e-scooter legislation became the hot topic it is, and how we might learn a thing or two from our friendly European neighbours. Let's head back to a time I'm sure none of us really want to remember. It's 2020 and the UK has witnessed a significant rise in the popularity of e-scooters. Arguably the main cause for this, the pandemic. Once the desire to adopt a greener, safer way of transport was suddenly critical due to COVID, the Department for Transport finally decided to move on from the 19th century and join the majority of Europe, who were already miles ahead in the adoption of rental scooters. Once the trials were put into place in July, rental scooters began to surge in popularity on our streets as an alternative to obese cars taking up space on our roads. The startup rental company Ginger was the first to crop up in Middlesbrough, closely followed by companies like Lime and Spin launching in Milton Keynes. Is it Milton Keynes or Milton Keys?
Keynes.
Cool. Pretty soon, rental electric scooters were almost ubiquitous on our roads, and by April 2021, there have been over 2 million e-scooter sharing journeys so far. And despite some obvious fears surrounding the adoption of new technology and the risks of injuries posed, a lot of the public responses were wholly positive, noting the environmental benefits and cheaper, convenient ways to get around town. On the top right corner of your screen now, you should see Ailish's video, where she delved into the popularity of rental e-scooters upon their release. Don't do it now, because I'm talking. If only she knew how much would have changed between then and now. Oh wait, f*** all!
The woman was too stunned to speak.
All of that aside, privately owned scooters still remain illegal because of laws put into place 3 decades ago, the Road Traffic Act of 1988, which technically puts electric scooters under the same bracket as a big fat car. Makes so much sense. They're barely distinguishable, right? I mean, massive wheels and then handlebars, small tyres, massive ones. Yeah, just lump them all together. They're basically the same f***ing thing, right? Sorry guys, bad day. 1 year later, in May 2021, the police issued a huge crackdown on the use of privately owned electric scooters. 20 electric scooters were seized in Brixton, 12 in Elephant and Castle, and 48 delivery riders were stopped in Tooting for simply doing their job, all in the space of 1 week. And that doesn't even include the other unreported boroughs of London. If you're a long-time subscriber to the channel, you probably remember Ailish discussing this and the simultaneous uproar on social media, as videos were posted left, right and centre of everyday people being stopped by the police for simply doing their job and going about their day. Not to mention, look how many policemen were supposedly needed to deal with this. 4. 4? I mean, pretty high stakes situation, guys. Why didn't you call the SWAT team while you were at that? This crackdown was a clear response to the e-scooter trials that were issued to start the following month on June 7th. And now, nearly 2 years later, we're still pushing this trial back indefinitely. So the crackdown on e-scooters achieved what exactly? We're still in the exact position we're in now, except people have completely unnecessary fines to pay back with additional points on their license. However, exactly a year later, May 2022, a new hope for scooterists creeps over the horizon. The UK Parliament announces Her Majesty the Queen was to deliver a speech concerning multiple transport measures to be put in place, one of which was the regulating of the sale of e-scooters. Now, this excited many people across the country. The Queen herself was going to potentially answer the question that had PLEV owners at the edge of their seats for years. And then the day arrived, and the beautifully, royally profound speech was just absolutely not that good, actually. After the then Prince Charles delivered vague buzzwords and minimal utterances, Transport Secretary Grant Shapps told the House of Commons Transport Committee that the government planned to introduce legislation to allow the regulation of e-scooters in the 2022-23 session. Supposedly, the government could then begin stipulation on certain standards that e-scooters would need to meet, including speed, power and lights, among other things, rather than the current unreachable standards set by the 1988 Road Traffic Act for cars. That means electric scooters will never be legally roadworthy. Sick. And yet, little to no stipulation has occurred. It seems the government have dealt with it as decently as an ostrich burying its head in the f***ing sand. Now, back to the future. The government has stated again that they wanted to enact legislation in the current parliamentary session. Yet, current Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is yet to make any commitments to this. We've already gone through 2 Prime Ministers since the Queen's speech, not to mention a new monarch as well.
Bollocks!
And no sign of regulation has been seen during this time. We had to go through Liz Truss's time serving as Prime Minister. She didn't do anything about this issue, and you know, she wasn't exactly in a hurry to leave.
I am a fighter and not a quitter. I am resigning.
And now we have Rishi Sunak, who earlier this year faced pressure from the e-scooter company Voi to set a clear date for legislation for the future of e-scooters. After setting up their first scheme, Voi has reportedly seen nearly 1.2 million people take 21.5 million rides, in total replacing over 8 million car journeys, also generating more than £50 million across local economies in the cities they operate in. All very promising positive points that could help many people, but is still ignored by those in power. So what next? In my last video, along with showcasing my mediocre attempt at persuading the government to change e-scooter laws, I also flaunted my extensive geography knowledge. And this is the same with most European countries, including Spain, among others. When it comes to electric scooter laws, other countries in Europe have shown to be progressive and forward-thinking in their approach to the matter. Whilst the UK still grapples with the subject of electric scooters as confidently as Liz Truss grapples with her longevity as Prime Minister, many other countries in Europe seem to have taken a more sensible approach. You see, since Brexit happened, EU laws cover the market surveillance of the manufacture, approval, and marketing territory, with each member state integrating these regulations into... That sounded boring. Here's a video from our sponsor that might be more entertaining.
Hello there, sir. Pleasure doing business at this mighty fine haberdashery. Now listen, brother, if I were to purchase something, would you please do me the honor of becoming a member of Electroheads.com? Perfect. You got it.
God, the e-horse is such a complex, multifaceted character, isn't he? In simpler terms, the regulation and legislation for privately owned scooters is a much more sought after process than here in the UK, and there are examples of this for specific countries. In Spain, electric scooters are classed as personal mobility vehicles, or PMVs if you're cool. The Spanish law classifies VMPs as being road users, meaning that they're encouraged to remain on roads and only on roads. E-scooters being ridden on the pavement is a real danger, and Spain recognises this. If you ride on the pavement in Spain, you are breaking the law and you can be fined and have your e-scooter apprehended. No, confiscated. You'd be apprehended. The reaction from the Spanish public has been mostly positive, and they understand as long as scooters are ridden responsibly and in designated areas on the road, then you're golden. Let's move on to Austria. G'day, mate. Wait. What?
Austria is not Australia.
Austria is not Australia?
Yeah.
What? Austria recognises electric scooters as distinct from other motor-powered vehicles like mopeds or electric bikes. As discussed on this channel, e-scooters in the UK fall under the Traffic Act 1988. As classified motor vehicles, I'm sure you're bored of hearing this by now.
Get on with it.
And therefore impossible to ride legally on roads. However, in Austria, e-scooters are classified into 2 categories, which solely depends on the motor power. Electric scooters up to 25 km per hour and 600 watts are actually classified as bicycles from a legal point of view. Electric scooters over 25 km per hour and 600 watts are classified as motorcycles or a moped from a legal point of view. So when it comes to e-scooters in Austria, if you were to purchase a decent one, like the decent one, with a max speed of 15 miles an hour, you wouldn't need a license to ride one, as it technically would be the same as riding a bicycle into work. And putting e-scooters under the same classification as bicycles would probably encourage riders to wear a helmet. Not to mention in Austria, you don't need a driving license either, just as you don't need one for a bicycle, because over there, they are one and the same. Rishi, mate, they're just the same as bikes, just stop discriminating against scooters, yeah? Controversial one next, France. As France recently made the decision to ban rental scooters. A referendum took place on the 2nd of April 2023, and almost 90% of votes cast were in favour to ban rented electric scooters, which were introduced in Paris back in 2018, with 3 deaths and 459 injuries being attributed to electric scooters last year. But a point to bear in mind here is that the pool of voters that actually showed up is a minuscule fraction of the Parisian population. Those who actually made their voices heard were the ones actively against e-scooters as a whole. Sorry, is it Parisian?
Yeah.
Is it?
I think it's Parisian. You said Parisian.
Is it Parisian or Parisian? Let us know in the comments.
Pigeon.
Is it pigeon? Now, interestingly enough, privately owned scooters in France remain legal to ride on the roads, with Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo describing them as not a problem.
Don't care.
But understands the seriousness of the issue at hand, with rental scooters causing injury and the understandable stance the Parisian public has taken to this data. This is due to rental scooters not being regulated, whereas privately owned scooters evidently are. Privately owned scooters must be ridden in cycle paths wherever possible and have a maximum speed limit of 15 miles per hour. If the UK Secretary were to focus less on rental scooters that are poorly maintained and often left scattered on the pavement, but instead follow up on the plan to regulate e-scooters as a whole, we might genuinely have less injuries caused by electric scooters with proper education and safety measures put in place. Known for their emphasis on sustainability and environmentally conscious approaches to an array of circumstances, it's unsurprising that Norway has embraced electric scooters and their contribution to greener transportation options. Not only that, but they're also very well regulated. E-scooters are only permitted on bike lanes and roads with lower speed limits, ensuring a safe and orderly flow of traffic. They also have a pretty low speed limit of 12 miles an hour. Another key rule put into place in Norway are pedestrian-friendly zones that are strictly off limits to electric scooters, prioritising the comfort and safety of the general public. Not to mention, Norway has an amazing reputation for using renewable energy sources such as solar-powered charging for their electric scooters. They're just fucking sick. I wish I was Norwegian. Okay, so I know I sold this as a European comparison, but during my research into this matter, I couldn't help but stumble upon Singapore's rules and regulations on electric scooters, and it's pretty mad. Now, while privately owned scooters are legal in Singapore, this isn't exactly something we could learn from. I don't think I agree with this sentiment at all, but the penalties for not adhering to certain rules over there are pretty dystopian. Limitations on scooters include a maximum speed of 15 miles an hour and a max weight of 20 kilograms. But if ridden on pavements at any time, it could result in a fine of $10,000 or even jail time. Now, this is obviously a huge extreme and it poses a lot of ethical questions, which I'll probably stray away from. But I guess to take anything positive away from Singaporean laws surrounding e-scooters is it's mandatory to take a theory test before riding an e-scooter, which ensures people are fully educated before riding one on the road. So despite the borderline dystopian level punishments for misusing a scooter, regulation is a clear priority when it comes to the introduction of electric scooters over there. But I definitely won't go near a scooter if I'm in Singapore, honestly. I probably won't go there anyway, but if I did, I wouldn't use one. So, next time I go to email the wrong person about e-scooters and immediately get ghosted and humiliated in the comments, at least I can present some clear-cut examples of other ways to tackle this issue. Some more extreme than others, admittedly, but nonetheless ones to take notice of. The main thing to take away here is that the UK are taking far too long to move on from their anachronistic ways. Since their surge in 2020, there's been a lot of hot air and no action toward regulating e-scooters. If the government could just take a moment to pull their finger out and look outward towards what the rest of the world are doing, things might soon fall into place. Ultimately, electric scooters offer greener, less congesting, and fun ways of travelling, and the sooner the UK government sees that, the better things will be for everyone. Wherever you are in the world, let me know what the electric scooter laws are in your country. Is it working? What can we learn from you guys? Are electric scooters the dystopian death traps the media makes them out to be? Are we right here in the UK? I mean, let me know in the comments. We're all open to arguments here at Electroheads. Unless you're categorically wrong, in which case, get the f*** out. In all seriousness, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that members button. I'd really recommend you do it, or I will let the e-horse know. Take care of yourselves, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.